What's going on, everybody? This is Mortym bringing you Stage 4 of the Maelstrom Arena as the Venom Claw, which is my stamina Dragon Knight build for all of the changes that they made to Dragon Knight abilities for the Dark Brotherhood patch. They changed a bunch of it to poison, so I made a melee dot build to kind of focus it. So, Stage 4 is Seht's Flywheel. There's going to be a lot of constructs as well as some actual people, and the main thing to focus with as you're moving through the rounds is kill the fire mages as quickly as you can. Use ultimates if you have to, it's not really a big deal. Just kill those fire mages with whatever you can use because they will do insane amounts of damage. More damage actually than the little end boss for the round does. So, the healers are also pretty important too, but prioritize the fire mages if you can. If you're running by a healer, by all means, just get rid of them real fast. They have very little health. But prioritize the fire mages. Don't worry too much about the last guy until you have everyone else down, because ironically enough, the mini-boss for this round is just not that threatening. It's also worth noting that you can stun the little mini-bosses for these rounds. I believe all three of them can actually be stunned. Now, that said, this particular build doesn't have a lot of stuns. It's just something worth noting. So, just apply your dots, stay out of his big lines, throw up reflective scales, there it is. Use reflective scales where you can, and this is easy as can be. Now, I do a really bad job of killing these clockwork sentries, but ideally, you will kill some of them when their shields drop, or, you know, before they get locked into position anyway. So, as we start round 2, it's basically the same thing. They just start adding dwarven spheres as well as the other stuff. So make sure you're not getting hit by any fire guys because they do an insane amount of damage. But the dwarven spheres in this round actually have an ability that they don't use in 2. They do more damage just in general. But they also will do this lightning charge-up attack that sends a wave out in front of them. And it does ridiculous damage. Even with like 50 points in the magic damage and, flame, fire, shock, and magic damage reduction, it'll still hit me for like 20k. So absolutely have to avoid that. It will wreck you. It's ridiculous. They don't use it very often, and it's impossible to miss when they're charging it up. So, I mean, just don't get hit by it. I've survived it before, but it's almost a death sentence just getting hit by the thing. Other than that, dwarven spiders, try to avoid the sentries' little charges. I'm sure some people will do a better job of killing those things than I do. I'm terrible at it, so I wind up with almost every one of them active. I like to focus on the dwarven spheres as much as I can because they do the most damage, so I try to get rid of them first. The dwarven spiders I'm really not worried about as long as you're not hitting him. As you can see, he just did his huge lightning wind-up as the dwarven spheres get this round. And that's what you don't want to get hit by. It will just wreck you. So use Dawnbreaker, whatever you have. Dawnbreaker of Smiting does have a stun attached to it, so it helps knock things out, plus getting you all your resource back because, you know, Dragon Knights get that passive. So throw reflective scales up when all of these guys start showing up, and they'll kill themselves on it while you deal with the spiders if there's any still alive, as well as trying to focus some of these clockwork sentries down. So, reflective scales, that overcharger winds up killing himself on my shield. Oh, nope, my bad. Yeah, we wind up having to hit him anyway because reflective scales died. So, again, the bosses can be stunned, so Dawnbreaker of Smiting will do this to the little mini-bosses. So after that, just apply your dots, put him down. I try to focus on getting some of these clockwork sentries down, but I would argue that's actually kind of a waste of time in a lot of cases because their attack is pretty easy to avoid. So you can kind of kill them in between rounds as it goes. As long as their shield isn't up, of course. So round 3 is a little difficult just because of the quantity of enemies. So you want to drop down as much of your AoE as you can. Again, focus on the dwarven spheres first and then the spiders. But there's, from what I've noticed, round 3 has a lot more enemies than the other ones. So we went ahead and grabbed our power up there, kill the clockwork sentry because its shield was down, and then avoid that giant lightning wave because it hurts. And then we kill the Dwarven Spider, and then because we're so low, because they keep hitting us with stuff, you can reflective scales those darts they're hitting you with, but I have a hard time seeing them because their visual indicator is just very small. I don't get a chance to use reflective scales to hit the Dwarven Sphere's darts back a lot, so I wind up just using the melee or the healing power-up if I have to just walk through the damage from it. Now, as you can see, they have 4 spiders here. You start getting hit with the mages when they show up. Like I said, fire mages should always come first. It doesn't matter what's alive. The fire mages will do ridiculous damage really quickly. So, we're going to go grab the shield power up, and that'll get us through the rest of the round. Nothing else does enough damage to really worry about, especially with that shield power up. So, we just kill the spiders that are up, block his heavy attack if he uses it. I grabbed the healing power up for funsies, though to be honest with you, I didn't really need it. So, and with that, we just focus him down. The healers don't really ever try to heal him much. So just use reflective scales to do what reflective scales does, reflect their back. The healers won't usually kill themselves on it though, because it doesn't do quite enough damage usually. So with the boss down, we just have to kill the healer, and there we go. So as the Venom Claw, I had a bit of trouble with the Control Guardian here, and that's not so much the build's fault. I have a hard time figuring out quite where to stand on this one a lot. When he first spawns and you have to be up under him like just now, it's pretty easy. It's where you'll get a lot of your damage in because you can just use Hidden Blade, apply your dots, and then spam Bloodthirst, and you'll do a lot of damage with it. Now, the problem I have is when he jumps into this phase, because I, personally at least, this build cannot handle the fireball volleys that he throws if you step too far away. So you kind of have to stand just outside of the ring of fire he starts spewing out from underneath him. And I mean like right outside of it. There's a small little sweet spot where you can stand there and he won't throw any fireballs, and you'll have the leeway to deal with the adds. The problem with that is those clockwork sentries shooting lightning bolts at you becomes very hard to avoid because you have such a small area of movement. Now when he stops, I do like to use Endless Hail or my other AoE abilities like that. Now it's important that these Thundersmiths die as quickly as possible because they'll stun you, and if you're stunned while he's walking around, you're going to be dead in seconds if you step out from under. You can take a few hits from it, but not a lot. So other than that, we just apply all of our dots again, and then just start spamming Bloodthirst to do as much damage as possible. And he goes down pretty quickly. I believe he goes through one more phase before we actually get him. So apply Endless Hail when he stops walking. Go ahead and focus on... Honestly, I probably could have focused on the boss himself at this point. I just didn't want to chance it because if these adds get out of control, you die. And nothing annoys me more than dying when I have a boss at like 5% health. And it's happened several times, believe me. Other than that, though, this boss shouldn't pose too much of a threat. In my actual build video, I believe I showed a different occasion on beating him. So you can consistently do this if you're good and you pay attention to where everything is at. Alright guys, so there is stage 4 as the Venom Claw. The next one gave me a lot of trouble, but I hope you liked the video and I hope you subscribe. Have a good one.